Welcome back to Quarantine Questions with Jack Heron. This is episode 7. I am very happy to have my good friend Kevin Schneider of Big Shots on with us today. Kevin, how you doing?
Well, great, Jack. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely, man. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate you taking the time. Little background, Kevin runs Big Shots, which is one of the top event, what would you say, promoters, holders,
A lot of different things.
organizers.
It's event organizers, and we run tournaments, recruiting service, a variety of different things, helping players throughout the high school ranks achieve their goal of playing collegiately.
In other words, if there's something that high school basketball touches, Kevin has his hand in it in some way, shape, or form. So very happy to have him on, and we'll get right into it. So you guys started as a family company, correct?
Yeah, in 2006, started, my dad, Jeff, who many may know, obviously he and I run Big Shots together. And he was a college coach for 17 years at the Division I ranks, from BCU to BMI to Bowling Green, Tulsa, Washington State, Cal Poly. And when he got out of coaching in 2001, after resigning at Cal Poly, he started a recruiting service. And so that was the foundation of what we did at the beginning, was strictly recruiting. And that's always been the base. Here in this quarantine time, we find ourselves back to the base of what we're doing, and that is recruiting. Constantly talking with college coaches daily, every level, from Bill Sells to the Mick Cronins, all the way down to the D3s, JUCOs, east to west, just talking and figuring out what their needs are. And obviously the players we know all over the country, we're a good outlet for the college coaches as well as the players to the coaches. So we kind of tie that knot together, with what we do. But we started in the recruiting service side, got into the events in 2006, and I'll go into detail because we haven't really we tell the story to people when they ask on how Big Shot started, but it's a really cool story. And had 19 teams in the first year in 2006, and now I've grown to over 3,500 teams annually in Big Shots here, last year in 2019.
So tell me about how you guys, the growth and how it happened. I mean, did you guys anticipate ever being this big? And how did you guys get to where you're at right now?
We say all the time, if you could have drawn it out how you would expect it to go, we couldn't have drawn it this good, I guess, and it's been fun to see it grow over the years. And how it started, when I was coming up, I was playing, and my dad was out of coaching, and we had David, who played at William & Mary, had an outstanding career. He formed teams for us out in California. And so we had teams out in California and Arizona, and I played as an unsigned senior, ended up getting a scholarship. We had a really good team out west. Only loss was the Seattle Rotary, who was really good with Terrence Williams and several of the stars they had, John Brockman and whatnot. But we formed a team, and we had 3 teams. And our goal was to get guys scholarships off those teams. And we had 16 players, and we got 24 guys scholarships. And what that meant is a guy would come in, he'd get one, he'd be gone. Next guy come in, he'd get one, he'd leave. And we had a 3rd team that was a developmental team. And on that team, a guy named Guy Burkstaller coached the team, and his son Taylor and a couple other guys played. And our goal with that group was to make their high school team. And they had a blast. We would usually win by like 40, and they would lose by 40. But they loved the experience of AAU ball, the hotel experience, the travel, everything that teams get throughout grassroots basketball. So in about 3 years following that, Taylor Burkstaller was out riding his bike and trips and falls and dies. He drowns, and it was an awful incident that occurred. And so at that time we were living in Myrtle Beach, and we get the call. We were devastated. And but Guy had so much fun with his son that he wanted to start a tournament in his honor. It was the most fun he ever had with his son, was travel basketball. And so we said, great, like, what would you want to call it? He said, let's call it Big Shots. And so in 2006, at that time, Guy Burkstaller was with Dick's Sporting Goods, and Dick's Sporting Goods was a sponsor of Big Shots for the first 3 years. And I guess that's why we always cater to all levels of teams. It's from the shoe company teams to the mediocre teams that may have one college player, a team that just, we want everybody to play high school basketball. And that's Big Shots. And that's how it started in 2006. And it's carried on for 15 years now. We've had fortunate to have many great players. Several of the guys you see behind me hanging in my office, over 14,000 scholarship players have come through.
So it's grown. That's a great story, by the way. But it's grown from something small like that into, like you said, 3,500 teams you guys have. It seems like every weekend you guys have 3, 4, 5 tournaments going on. Up and down the East Coast. How do you guys stay so organized and just keep moving when you've got so much going on?
Yeah, we run it like a college program in that way. My dad was fortunate to coach with guys like Tubby Smith and Kevin Eastman, who we talk to almost on a daily basis. Jim Larinaga, another Hall of Fame caliber coach in his own right. And we're very organized with what we do. But I think it's something, it comes down to relationships and what we do, and I think when you run that many events in various regions, that's not easy, but we have relationships and ties due to, whether coaching, playing, living in different areas that we've built over the years. And it's really allowed us to host that many events. We have a great staff, from top to bottom, whether it's officiating to the managing facilities to hotels to whatever we have on our plate, that they all have to do their part for it to be successful. And but at the end of the day, it comes down to relationships and what you can offer, and that's helping someone's son or daughter get a scholarship. And that's, as many people know, that's your pride and joy is your children, and we have the ability to be a part of their journey in that way, getting a scholarship and achieving their dreams of playing collegiately.
So you guys are doing some new stuff. It seems like every year you guys have something new coming out. Tell me about some of the new things that, we were trying to look forward to, but we can still look forward to when all of this is over.
Yeah, when you, I guess, have a lot of time on your hands, you start to brainstorm and put some ideas that we've had for several years into play. And today we announced our Big Shots College Basketball Classic, Big Shots CBC, as we're going to call them. And we plan on doing one December 19th in Rock Hill, have several conference champions and NCAA tournament teams in last year's NCAA tournament, and they would have been in it this year based on the success they had. And so we're really excited about that. I think it's something new that, we've had relationships with those guys through recruiting our events or, just being around them all the time. And so that's a new division of what we're doing, and we're really excited about that. Also helping players with their recruitment. It's an interesting time right now. I know people are anxious to get out and back playing, as we are to be hosting teams and seeing you guys again. And I think with the recruiting process, we're here to help. And I think parents, players, grassroots teams know that we're here to assist them in the recruiting. So we offer that through the Big Shots Players Club. If players need additional consulting throughout the recruiting process, we're here to help in that regard.
So on top of all the tournaments and stuff you guys do, you also have you have your few of your own AAU teams, right?
Yeah, it's another part of what we've done over the years. It started with one team. We did it because Bryce was coming up. Bryce Schneider, he's the youngest one in our family, and we had a team for him, and it quickly grew to where we now have over 100 teams under our umbrella. It's been fun to see that part of it grow. Usually it's a lot of teams that have players people don't want, I guess, and they kind of form together, and it's been fortunate. We've had a lot of players play at the highest of levels and various levels over the years, but those teams are extremely competitive. Last year our Big Shots Georgia team went 44-1. And they were top 5 in the nation. And I think the last two to 4 years, we've had probably as good as independent team as anyone in the country.
Yeah, see, I remember that team with Bryce. That was when I first met you with him and Jared West and Luke. What's his name?
Yeah, Luke Frampton, at Liberty. And, those teams are heavily recruited. I think this year, we have teams in various states from Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, obviously the Carolinas, West Virginia, and PA, and and the teams that we have at the 17U division. If we're able to get out and run, hopefully here soon, they'll show very well for the college coaches and several college players of all levels.
Now, you guys had planned on starting basically your own circuit this year too, right? An invite-only circuit that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully can still happen. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've always it's changed so much, man, since 2006 when we first started. I mean, the shoe company events weren't even around, and so to see how that's progressed over the years with the EYBL, the UAA, and Three Stripe, I guess now is what it's called this year. It's been we've adapted really well to those. We've helped a lot of programs that are in those associations come up the ranks, and seeing guys even like a Petersburg Select, to see Ty come through the ranks, and seeing what he's built in Team Loaded is phenomenal. But we remember, we kind of grew together. And now that we have those circuits are going along, we realize that having our own teams helped, because that brought a lot of coaches to see players like a Nick Farrar, a Brandon Stroud, a Chris Youngblood, a Caden Matheny. And those guys are very good, could play for just about anybody out there. And I think with the Slam Series, it provides a circuit that is similar to what the shoe companies provide in their circuits, and that's getting the top players into a venue for college coaches to come see them. And that's what we're doing with the Slam Series. It was set to be the live periods in April and then July, but we're going to adapt with it, and we've reorganized our schedule, rescheduled several events into June, July, and now even August. And so, if you can be flexible and ready to go during those time periods, I think players will have plenty of opportunity to showcase their skills. And we plan to do the Slam Series this year in 2020.
So what would you say? You guys have obviously, built a brand where college coaches, they come and they come to your events, they come see who you guys have. What would you say is the key to getting coaches to come, for maybe AAU coaches out there? What would you say is the key to building relationships and getting them to come?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just being, open to all levels. I think that's key. And I do always say this all the time, coaches follow talent. I don't care if they're playing outside. If there's talent out there, they're going to go watch the players outside. I think that's something that's given. We do a really good job of promoting the players throughout the entire season, from high school into the circuit season, and talking with those with those college coaches through social media, emails. We have every college coach's cell phone in the country to reach out to them, and that's something that we do on a regular basis. So I think it's just the constant communication. We've been fortunate enough to have the players that have come through Big Shots where coaches respect our opinion on a player. And I think that's a reputable source where if we say, hey, Montrezl Harrell can play for anybody in the country, when not many were recruiting them, they believe it, or, many guys that have come through like a Grayson Allen or, Frank Mason here. We thought Frank was high level. And I remember talking to Bill Self at that event in Myrtle Beach where he was recruiting Thon Maker at the time, and we said Frank Mason could play for anybody. And sure enough, it ended up working out. But coaches know they can come to Big Shots and find a sleeper that maybe somebody's not on. And that's what's helped our tournaments dating back to 2006, man, when they come in, the Nike teams would come in before Peach Jam, and coaches would flock to Myrtle Beach, whether it was a vacation or, to see some talent, and then they would find certain players, man. So I think it's being open for grassroots guys, be open to all levels. And again, it's all about relationships, man. I say that all the time. I know my buddies, Dana and David Pump, say that out there out west. It's all about the relationships, and that's what it is. If you can build a relationship and trust and promote your players to the right level, don't fluff it, promote them to the right level, then you gain respect, and I think it'll just grow from there.
So You mentioned quite a few very good players, and I see you've got some in the back there. I want to give you a chance to flex a little bit while you're on camera. What are some of the best players that you guys have had come through your Big Shots events?
Yeah, we currently have 243 players playing in the NBA or the NBA G League. It's something that uh, I take so much pride in our alumni, not just the ones that are successful on the court, but ones that have moved on to do well business-wise. But we've been fortunate to have some great players, Karl Anthony Towns, John Wall, several number one picks. Bam Adebayo, who's behind here, he's played outstanding over the years, and you've seen him up front personal with Team Loaded, and he's one that I'm really proud of. But we've had several great guys: Zion Williamson, John Morant. I have them hanging here in the office as well. And so we've seen some guys come up that were kind of under the radar. I mean, a fun story on Karl Anthony Towns, real quick. And I hate, obviously, we're dealing with this with the COVID-19, and unfortunately, he lost his mom. His dad, Carl Sr., survived. But when he was 14, he came to Myrtle Beach, and I'll never forget seeing him, man. I mean, Carl Sr. would call me. He's like, "My son's really good," and I said, "Well, I can't wait to see him." And I'm a guy that I cater to every age, every level, and he was sure right, man. He was 6'6" at that time. Montrezl Harrell was on court 1, and Karl Anthony Towns was on court 2. And I remember sitting there talking with several high major coaches in the stands. I said, one day you're going to recruit that player right there. And he said, who is that? I said, that's an 8th grader, Karl Anthony Towns. And I said, he'll be the number 1 player in the nation. So after the game, I take his picture, and he said, hold up, I want to run to my car and get my Puerto Rican national team shirt. He'd just been selected to play for the Puerto Rican national team. And he was so excited about that, and he was there with his mom and dad. He sure enough ran out and got it, and that was his first big picture. And so I see him at the NBA Finals, went to the NBA Finals in Cleveland a couple years ago, and sure enough, it was him and D'Angelo Russell, who are real tight, obviously, and they're hanging out. And Carl said, man, Kev, you were the first one to promote me on a national scene. I'll never forget Myrtle Beach, one of my favorite events, and I appreciate everything. And it's just about the relationship, man. And that's what we do. And Carl's a proud Big Shots alum.
Yeah, so you do a lot with Big Shots, but there are other times where I go to an event and I turn around and you're broadcasting the game on TV. What's some other stuff that you do outside of Big Shots that's also still in the basketball community?
So if I see you at an event, I know I'm at the right event, because you do a phenomenal job, Jack. I mean, I think your coverage is as well as anybody in the country. And it's been fun to have a relationship with you in that way. But, yeah, so in the it's never an off season in what we do. And but I've enjoyed doing TV. I do TV with Monumental Sports, and they cover the D.C. Events really well throughout the DMV. With Keith Stevens, Doug Martin do the DC Hoop Fest and the St. James Invitational. So it was good to see Kevin Boyle and Sean McAloon face off versus several of the DMV's best. I also do Stadium Network, which is they cover the Beach Ball Classic. I'm involved with Chick-fil-A Classic down in Columbia. And this year we're planning on hosting several high school events along with the college event that we're doing. But we're excited about that. Division of what we've added, but the TV is something I've always enjoyed, and I think it's just another way. If I know the players, I want to put as much information out there about them and help them with the recruiting process any way I can. So it's something I've enjoyed doing during the high school season.
So you're also, some people who maybe haven't been to a Big Shots event don't know that you're a great MC also. So how's it different doing stuff like that versus being on TV? I mean, what do you like doing more, and what's the difference between them?
When the MC stuff started, man, I'm trying to remember. I think it was like 2011, maybe. I said, man, that'd be a cool idea. And I don't know where I was. I think I went to Berry Farm, honestly. I think I was out there when the league wasn't playing, and I went and saw Kevin Durant, Ty Lawson. I think I was with Keith Stevens that night. We're hanging out, and I'm like, man, that's a great idea. And so I started to implement that in what we did. I thought just knowing the players, instead of just always tweeting about it, I wanted to send it, like put it out there so people that were watching knew who they were watching. And it just kind of started happening, man. And it grew. It's funny. Sometimes you get those sleepers and college coaches are on a guy and they're like, don't say a word. Like,
Yeah.
don't call him out. You know, like I remember Dante Grantham was one that I can remember. And Scott Burrell, who's, you know, we're watching in The Last Dance, obviously going on right now, but he was a coach and he's like, man, Dante, he was on him. And Dante was a sleeper. And he's like, don't say a word on the mic. No love. Like, we're on him. Sure enough, Dante ended up playing at Hargrave and went on, and now he's in the NBA, but had a great career at Clemson. But so, yeah, I enjoy the MC part. I can't sing worth a nickel. I mean, I know there's some guys out there. I know Cliff Ellis is a great singer. I may have to pass the mic off to those good singers, but knowing the information about the players is something we take pride in, you know, here. And it's honestly like MCing when you're on the air. You know, I think it's something that I've been fortunate to be with some really good co-hosts in that. And I think as good as the co-host is, it really helps the person that's doing the analyst. So it's similar though. I mean, you got to know your stuff when you're, you know, on air.
Well, if you ever need anybody to sing, man, just pass the mic over to me. I'm terrific at karaoke from what I've been told.
Yeah, I've heard.
So I want to move on. I want to do a little bit of rapid fire questions, some stuff I've been asking all my guests to, you know, just kind of change the mood a little bit. I ask you this every time I'm in Myrtle, and you always seem to have a different answer for me. What is the best spot for seafood in Myrtle Beach?
Wow, best spot for seafood. I get asked that a lot come July, and you know, I may be somebody I like a Benjamin's. Honestly, you go, if you like crab legs, you can't beat Benjamin's. One of my good friends owns Snooki's. It's a local restaurant here. Definitely, he just built a place there. His name's Lance. Go in there and say, hey, Lance, my boy Kev said they come by Snooki's. You can't beat the Calabash area. You know, you can basically eat oysters right there and shuck them and throw them right back into the waterway. But a lot of good places to eat Myrtle Beach, and seafood being the top of the list. If I had to say one choice off the beaten path, I would probably say Bimini's, okay? And I'll take you next time you're in town. We'll hit up Bimini's. It's right there on Restaurant Row, and you better get there early because happy hour's popping, and it's hard to get a seat once things get going. So Bimini's would be the choice for somebody coming to Myrtle Beach.
All right, let me write that down real quick.
Yeah.
What's your favorite basketball movie?
Man, we've had plenty of time to watch a lot of basketball movies lately. I just watched a Ben Affleck movie, you know, and I have to say if a basketball movie's on TV, Blue Chips is hard not to watch, man. I think Blue Chips is a classic movie with Nick Nolte, Penny, Shaq, and just seeing how all that went down. But I enjoy watching Blue Chips, I guess, whenever it's on. Hoosiers is an obvious classic, I think. He Got Game slid in there for third, probably. So some of my faves in the basketball.
Yeah, he got a steal in Neon DeBow, huh?
Yeah. Major.
Who's your GOAT?
I mean, have you been watching The Last Dance, man? I mean, you got to go with Mike.
I'm not arguing you on that one, okay?
You got to go with Michael Jordan. I tell you what, when I was fun story on this, you know, I got to know Larry Jordan really well. He coached the Carolina Surge in our events when his son Justin Jordan was coming up. So humble. You know, one of my best friends coached at Laney for a while, Nathan Folk. So I've been around Laney doing a TV show, and to see where he came from in Wilmington, North Carolina, and to see what Michael Jordan has done and what he still is and has become, I mean, he is unbelievable. And he was so competitive, man. I think that's what we're seeing is just he would find inner competition within the competition. Like, you know, and he brought the best out of his teammates and challenging them. And I mean, he went 6 for 6 and winning world championships. So I'd have to say Michael Jordan is at the top of the list. LeBron has been unbelievable, a role model for all kids in this era. What he's done coming from Akron to becoming the King James he is today is also a remarkable accomplishment. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, what he did throughout college, the greatest college player ever. I thought he got screwed in the ESPN or whoever did the bracketology of top college players. I think there's one great, and that was him. But he's obviously in a different era. Michael made how he played cool. I mean, everything he did, even in the 80s, everything he did looked cool. I mean, the shoes to how he wore the shorts, the chain to the cut, everything he did really made it, a symbol of, how to be cool but play hard at the same time. And I think that's what Michael Jordan's, symbolized in everything he stood for. And guys, it's been fun to watch that Last Dance, man.
It has been great. When I try to talk to kids about it, I try to tell them that two things that Jordan did that I think separate him is, one, at the time, nobody thought that anybody who wasn't 7 foot was going to be the best player in the NBA. Mike really made it so perimeter-oriented basketball became more of a specialty with him. And then two, just everybody loved Michael Jordan. Like, there wasn't a debate who's your favorite player, who's the best player back then. It was Michael Jordan. Even if you didn't like sports, you loved Michael Jordan. So I try to tell kids, I'm like, y'all don't really understand that how big of an impact he really made. And then you look down and they're all wearing Jordan. So I don't get it, but
yeah. And he, a quick story, when I was in California, I had the privilege of going to his flight school camp. The first 5 years he did that at University of California, Santa Barbara. And so we go out there, and he was filming like Space Jam at that time, but it was right when he was coming back. And Miles Simon had just had a really good run at U of A at Arizona. And so all these like young players saw Q and Darius Miles and Yao Ming at a young age. And these guys would come in, and it was like a stage where they could kind of go at Mike. And he was not having it, man. Even in front of campers, like at a young age. I mean, he's calling dudes out. So that we would leave, and I'd hear the stories of like late night, how he would come at guys. And that's what he did, man. I mean, he was just so competitive. He wanted to be the best. Last story on Mike real quick. Ruby Sutton, you probably see her. She does our gate at Big Shots events. And Ruby and Fred Lynch are two of my great friends. Fred coached Michael in high school at Laney, and Ruby was his PE teacher. And so they have stories for days. But Ruby's story was that she has all of his love letters and all the good stuff of Michael in high school. But when he was in high school, he was so competitive. If he lost in a mile race, if he wanted to win everything, it could have been capture the flag. I mean, it was all about winning every award. And she would say, Michael, you don't have to win everything. He said, Mrs. Sutton, I'm sorry. Yes, I do. And it was all about winning. And it was even at a young age for Michael Jordan. But he is the original GOAT and still is to this day.
I agree, man. So what's your favorite thing to do outside of basketball?
I love music. I love all sports, man. I love going to concerts. I love going to football games. I'm a Panthers fan. I like all college football, so you can't go wrong with that. So I would say that would be my top choice, is something revolving around music, something around, some type of sporting event. So I'd hit those two things at the top of the list first. But I enjoy hanging out with you in Richmond and going out and watching games, hanging out, and you show me the town a little bit. You know them all in Richmond now, so I'd say eating would be third.
Yeah. And what's your best basketball memory? I know you got a ton of them.
Man, it depends on, I guess, what time of year. Being a coach's son in 1993 and 94, I guess it was 94, my dad was assistant with Tubby Smith. He and Tubby were best friends, and they beat UCLA, who won the national title the next year, with Ed O'Bannon, Charles O'Bannon. And we were playing Oklahoma State. And I kept saying, we're going to beat them, man. And I'm at a young age. I'm like 11 at that time or something. I said, we're going to win, and they had big country. And we ended up going to the Sweet 16. We beat Oklahoma State. So I think experiencing that was fun. And then we played the national champion Arkansas. And when they had big, nasty Corliss Williamson, I said, we're not winning tonight. And they won the national title. But that was at a young age. That was fun. I enjoyed that. I think now in doing what we do with Big Shots, I enjoy this every year. There's something every year. There's a memory that I walk away with that I'm like, man, that was special, And to me, I think the special thing that we do is helping kids get scholarships. I think that is the fondest memory of what I do with basketball is that, and I see people, we tweet about it all the time, and you do an outstanding job of coverage, of guys getting offers or signing. And, I think when players get their first offer, that feeling's special. I mean, it's people say, what's the first thing you do when you get an offer? It's tweet. And I disagree. It's probably cry because you put all this work into it, and now you get an offer and a scholarship offer on the desk. That there's nothing greater than that. So I'd say probably helping kids get scholarships has been the best thing. It's topped anything we've done, man. Even my playing career, I've enjoyed helping others achieve that goal. And players maybe that didn't have anything. Grayson Allen here at 16, he didn't have an offer. And I'll never forget seeing him, man. He did a windmill he went between his legs, and then I saw him shooting warm-ups. And I was like, he's high major. I've seen enough. And sure enough, he had 33 that game. I said, what's your dream school, man? I said, who's recruiting? He said, getting some interest from Stetson, Jacksonville. I'm a Jacksonville kid. That's about it, just some interest. I said, what's your dream school? He said, Duke. I said, well, let's make that happen. And sure enough, at the end of the year in Richmond, you were at that event, I'm sure. And Nate James came in. Coach K was coaching the Olympics, and they offered him. And the rest was history. So I'd say that was probably a fun story of what we've done is seeing players under the radar get an opportunity, make the most of it. We've just been a helping piece along the journey.
That's an awesome story, man. Before I let you go, my last question for you is with all these uncertain times right now, and like we mentioned, kids just itching to get back, what advice would you give to a prospect during this time to possibly get their name out there or stay sharp, or just what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, it's a unique time. I think the main thing is stay in shape. My good friend Paul Biancardi posted something today about Scottie Pippen. He said that was his greatest trait was he was always in shape. So I think although maybe some areas have taken rims down, I think you can get a ball, work on your handles, stay in shape. That time will be coming soon. And we are in preparation to hopefully start up in June. And so that's in certain areas. I think that's what we're looking at now. And for teams that are, still together and ready to go, I think it's just a matter of, putting the time into your game, whether it's, strength, conditioning, if you can find a hoop, get some shots up, and stay there positive in that way and be ready to go when that time comes. From a recruiting standpoint, I think it's social media has been great, but use it as a positive. Make sure that you put positive stuff on social media because that's where college coaches are going right now to find information on players. I think if you're putting stuff out there, chatting with your boys, and that's stuff that you need to keep in the DMs or in text messages, don't put that out there on Twitter or Instagram. So social media with your video highlights, I think that's great. And then, be ready to go when that time comes because hopefully it's coming soon with the latest news that we've received in certain areas.
Kevin, I appreciate you taking your time, man. It's always great catching up with you.
Yeah, it's been a blast with you, Jack, and thanks for all you do. I've enjoyed tuning in to all your quarantine question guys you brought on, JD Byers and Efton, and many of the players that you've had on. So it's a pleasure to be with you. I look forward to seeing you here at a gym soon, man.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to get back in one with you. Well, guys, Go follow Kevin Schneider, Big Shots on Twitter, and get yourself some nice gear like I've got,
Looking good, man. See you soon, Jack. Thanks, man.
Thanks so much, man. Have a good one.